Hey, we're back. There we go. We're back. So, anyway, a little technical difficulties. It's just the way that we do things now. We've had our hiccups, but we're back. Anyway, we haven't had our guest here in a long time, but Mikey is back with us. So, claps out to our
Yes, sir.
Vikings extraordinaire slash expert, Mikey Ryan. Mikey, welcome back to the show, and we've got some news, man. We've got some news to talk about with our
Yes.
Minnesota Vikings here. So, what do you think, and what can we expect?
Yeah. As everyone probably knows at this point, we got Brian Flores. Huge pickup. Huge pickup. I think he should be an NFL coach. Minus the whole thing with Miami going on, but regardless, yeah, tank for Tua exactly.
Yeah, tank for
But
two.
no, excellent. I think it's the right hire at the right time. We needed a drastic switch from Ed Donatel over to Brian Flores. Vastly different scheme-wise, aggressiveness, basically anything across the board you can name with Donatel. Brian Flores probably does it differently. So I'm very excited to be a Vikings fan. It's a good start to this offseason, but we got to keep it rolling. We got to get the right personnel in place, and hopefully the defense will be better so that we can actually get that deep playoff run that we wanted this year.
Yep, and you mentioned the deep playoff run, and it. We wanted to see it with this team, but I feel like when we when we looked at a lot of like the issues, you can look at the interior of the offensive line, you can look at X, Y, and Z, but let's be honest, the defense was terrible. It was worse. I feel it was worse
Yeah.
than Zimmer's. I said this before at the end of the season too, but I think you can't go into next season with Donatel as your defensive coordinator. And
Yeah,
there's like, oh, maybe they
for
need
sure.
time and everything like that, but you have to be a little bit better than what we were last year. I mean, you have to. And the
You
thing
have
is,
to
for
be.
Donatel, it didn't work out whatsoever in that aspect. So we got that going for us. So Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Flores hire? Yeah.
Yep.
Much like Case is saying, "Uh-oh," with the Donatel. I mean, it makes sense from that perspective. So I'm glad he brought that up. But a couple things that I kind of like about this hire too. I'm not like most people. I feel like people are like, "Oh my gosh, we got the guy." It's well, let's see how this works. Let's not just
Hmm.
make the assumption that everything's going to be, pre it's gonna be better. The question is, who are you going to bring in? The question is, who are you going to let go? So we'll get into that in a second. But like you said, I mean, there's going to be more blitzing, more than whatever Donatello was doing. That's for sure. You get a lot of turnovers when he was with the Dolphins. They got a lot of turnovers. They had in 2020 29 takeaways. Number one in third down defense. That could be a big help, especially
Yeah.
on third down. People have been kind of eyeing maybe a Xavier Howard reunion, but I don't know. I don't know how the financials will work with that. But I I like this. I like the hire. Don't get me wrong. Let's hope that it all pans out here. But let's see what we can get with young players. And I mean, who are you willing to let go? Is this going to be a get rid of everyone who was a starter last year? Blah blah blah. Maybe keep some guys here and there because of financial deals. But I think he's going to bring in some of his guys. I think it's just going to be kind of a mix. So we'll see. I think defensively they're going to be a lot better. A little bit more speed. They're going to be guys that unfortunately aren't going to be with us next year, and it's going to all start with the new league year, which starts surprisingly in like it's almost a month. I mean, maybe even less than a month now. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But stamp of approval. I'm glad they got the guy that they want, or I guess the second guy they wanted, because they wanted the Evero guy, but he was in consideration, then didn't, and whatnot. But if they went to option 3, because the first was Evero maybe, and then Flores, and then Pettin. How would you feel if Mike Pettin was the defensive coordinator, Mikey?
I probably wouldn't have liked it as much as the Brian Flores, because Brian Flores has that massive pedigree, right? But I wouldn't be opposed to it, right?
Yeah.
He runs a different scheme, I believe, than Flores. I'm not entirely sure about that. I haven't really researched so much on him since the Brian Flores deal went through. But I trust KOC. KOC has been making great hires, minus Donatel. But I think Donatel was more of he was trying to fit the personnel that he had into his scheme instead of fitting his scheme to the personnel, right?
Right.
But KOC's been making great hires. Kwesi also been doing very well, minus the defense, but that's kind of was the product of Zimmer. A lot of it, really. So I wouldn't have been opposed to it, but it's certainly not the fan favorite or the immediate, this is the good guy to get at Flores.
Yeah. That makes the most sense too. But I mean, I would have been fine with it. It's just you got to do something different. That's the thing. Yeah. If you're in connection with them and whatnot. So Voldy, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where things would have been at if they would have gone with him or someone else. But, I mean, it's with Donatello, it's when he first got here, we'll see how it, goes. It can't be worse than Zimmer's. Well, it was. So, I mean, that's all we can really say. I mean, you want to see
Yeah.
Right. You want to see a little improvement, but that was an improvement. That was a train wreck. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately for Ed Donatel, I mean, people want to say, "Oh, it's Donatel." Well, is it the personnel? Is it this? Is it that? We don't know. We have no idea. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens there. All right. So let's get into this. I will have Mikey and Voldy respond. So we have the Vikings starters from this past year, and I'm gonna go through and see if if they're going to if you think they're gonna stay, if they're gonna go. You give your opinion. We'll start with Mikey first. This one is a kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie. This first one's very tough because you can go either way. But with this
Hmm.
Flores hire, I think it helps. Our first guy, stay or go, Harrison Smith, Mikey.
Oh gosh. I think this like you said, it's tough. This is a tough one. Um, I think I want to say he gives it one more year. This year
Okay.
probably put a bad taste in his mouth. I think one more year. I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't know kind of what the deal looks like. He might have to like maybe take a pay cut here or there to keep some pieces around because there are pieces that we need to sign for sure in free agency and also in the draft. Um, but I could see him doing one more year and then calling it quits. I would not like to see Harrison Smith in a different jersey if he still wants to play and we keep and we like cut him or anything like that. Um, I would give it one more year. He's going to be like changing roles, right? We saw it a little bit this year where he's not so much running all around the field. He's more just playing that back end safety, and then sometimes he'll move up to that linebacker spot, and that's
Yep.
where he'll be the run stopping safety that we've always known. But he's not going to be flying from like 15 yards back at this point. So I would say one more year, and he does return.
Okay. Voldy. All right. So both stays for Harrison Smith. All right. Let's go from one Smith to another. Zadarius Smith. Yes, you signed him last year and whatnot, but some people feel like, well, he had a great first start to the season and then he kind of trailed off. He had the injury, things like that. Um, Stay or go, Mikey, Zadarius Smith.
So I think the production wise, I think he was well. I think it really comes down to how the contract was structured for Zadarius Smith because it
Yeah.
was it was a small hit this year in cap, but this year. I believe if we keep him until the start of the season, it's a bigger, it's like a $10 million cap hit or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I think I think he'll probably be a cap hit, and I think he's going to be cut, unfortunately. Um,
Oh.
I would want him to stay for sure, but just with how our cap situation is and how much we need to rebuild on defense, I think he might be a casualty there, and I don't see him returning, unfortunately.
Ooh, I kind of like it just because I thought this one was kind of like, they probably won't. But interesting. Voldy, what do you got? Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh. I think Case agrees with you. That's what I think. But I guess we'll see. But from one side, let's go to the other outside linebacker with Daniil Hunter. I have a hard time thinking that this will happen just because he does have a big contract too. So, Mikey, stay or go.
I've liked Daniil, the entire time. I thought when we picked him up, he was another Everson Griffin. I think that was like on the original MinneZona
Yeah,
back
yeah.
in Marshall. I think we were talking about this kind of thing too with them. His cap hit is huge. Again, from the numbers, it's got to be either restructure or he's cut. Um, I think Daniil likes staying in Minnesota. He's liked his career here the entire time. Whether he gels with Flores or not might be something that I personally wouldn't know, and that might come down to the next 3 weeks here to figure out if we keep him. Um, I'm gonna say we probably will restructure and keep him. We'll keep. I think it's a horse apiece. You're either gonna keep Zedarius and cut Hunter, or cut Zedarius and keep Daniil.
Hmm.
I think you have to keep one of them. I think losing both, you lose a lot of the pass rush pressure that we can bring. We need a lot, especially in Flores' system, where he'll be blitzing 6, 7 players at a time. Like Paul said, about 30 to 40%. So we'll need some bodies in there and some good ones too. So I'm gonna say, since I said cut Zedarius, we're gonna keep Hunter.
Okay, Voldy.
Hmm.
I think you got to factor in maybe some of the injuries too. I know that Daniil's definitely had an injury past, but I don't see it being a big, huge deal or anything like that. But I think he'd stay if I were to pick. But let's go through these last few here. Jordan Hicks definitely filled in as that second linebacker next to Kendricks. Mikey, what do you got?
I think we keep him. I think he did
Really?
extremely well. Yeah, I think so. It's gonna be tough. We'll see what happens with Asamoah and at the back end there too. I know he was on the injury bug here or there a lot of the times. But I think we try to keep him. I think he was excellent. Counterpick to Kendricks, and Flores will run that 3-4 defense, so we'll need someone opposite of Kendricks in the middle there. So I would probably see that we keep him.
All right. Voldy.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Uh, Next one, Dalvin Tomlinson. I
Mm,
think his contract's up, so he is bound to be
yep.
a free agent. So, Mikey, do you think he comes back?
I think Tomlinson's probably going to be looking other ways. I liked him a lot. Actually, I thought he was good.
Yeah.
But looking at his cap hit and what his, I believe the cap hit last year for him was 10 million or something like that. And the market probably commands that for him. And I think at that point, we see what we have with uh, our backups, or even if we wanted to draft someone new to replace him. I think we got to get younger, and we unfortunately have to get cheaper too on at least the defensive line part, to maybe pick up some players like for the secondary, because our secondary needs help, and it needs help very badly.
Yeah, no. Uh, when you said cheaper, I was gonna say the Pollad way, but we don't want to go that far. But I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, not that cheap, not
Not
that
that
cheap.
cheap. Not that cheap. Voldy, what do you got? Sure.
Hmm.
All right. Next one, another free agent. Patrick Peterson. Will he retire? Will he not? Will he go one more? I think he does want to go one more year. New defense. Mikey, what do you think?
Uh, I think if Patrick Peterson does come back, I don't know if he's going to be with the Vikings. Unfortunately, I think he's up there in age. I believe he's 32 or 33, going to be 33, I believe. He was like the cornerstone for us this year. He was a veteran presence that we desperately needed. Um, but I don't know his relationship with Brian Flores. That's one of the major components, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of it is going to be, from what I've been reading for Flores, is a lot of man to man, especially when we're going to be blitzing a lot of the time, not all the time. Which
Right.
Patrick Peterson does do well, but with his old age now, and he has been slower. I've noticed it a lot, especially like say the first game against the Packers. He got
Yeah,
beat
he's
by
32.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
So.
got beat by Christian Watson.
Yeah.
So I think the Vikings probably maybe take a flyer to see like, hey, will you come back for a lot less money, maybe like 5 million 1 year deal or something like that. But I don't think he'll like that. I think he'll probably look at other options. People will pay him more to go be that veteran presence for them in the cornerback room. So I think he is going to be another casualty as well.
Okay. Voldy. All right. Well, it's yeah. I don't know. That one's kind of a toss up.
Hmm.
Um, this one I feel like is kind of the most controversial, but I guess we'll see what you guys think. Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks.
Mm.
Mikey, stay or go?
I want him to stay very badly, but I see why he could leave, right? His trade value is through the roof, right? He's one of the best middle linebackers, if not the best right now in the NFL, right? He's
Yeah.
certainly in the conversation. Um, but I feel like we need pieces like of the not even the old regime. We need like good pieces to build around, and I think Kendricks, he might be a little older, right? But he's at his basically his prime, right? So I
Yep.
think he can be the center of a defense like that we want to build. Um, I would I would strongly encourage the Vikings to keep him, right? Because he's the main reason like we've been surviving as like a run defense. He fills holes all the time. He makes excellent plays. He's good in zone. I would like to keep him, but I would not throw out the possibility of him getting traded so that we get some draft capital.
Yep. I could definitely see that too. Voldy, what do you got?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, interesting. I think that one's yeah, that's a tough one. Let's go with Cam Bynum here. Let's go Cam Bynum, Mikey.
Uh, I hope he goes.
Really? Oh wow.
I hope he goes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I want to see Lewis Seen really step up into that role, right? Um, I think the injury was very unfortunate for him. He was starting to learn and starting to like kind of adapt to that role, right? Hopefully, he used his time effectively, and I have no doubt that he did, right? All professionals usually do, but I'm hoping that we see that translate to him like stepping into that role and taking over basically Harrison Smith's spot of saying, hey, he's the dominant safety in that backfield, and then Harrison Smith kind of complements him. So I think Cam Bynum, he might. I would say he probably goes. He's not gonna. Probably not gonna like a demotion at being like the third safety. So he's probably going to either like take that and work or request a release and try to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Voldy, what do you got? Okay. Next one, Cam Dantzler. This one's interesting. I don't know. Mikey, what do you got?
Uh, it's like he's very hit or miss, right? He shows some talent, but then oh my, he shows some very, very stupid plays a lot of the times too. It's like pulling your hair out. You're losing your hair as a Vikings player. I would say since we just need bodies at corner right now. Like what if Patrick Peterson goes, who do we have? Duke Shelley, Andrew Booth. That's about it, right? I would say Cam Dancer probably stays. I don't think he's going to be starting for us. Hopefully, right? Hopefully we get some corners either in free agency or the draft. There's multiple opportunities to get some more corners. But I think he stays. He probably plays either the that nickel or dime corner for us and sees some play time, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, that too. Voldy, what do you got? All right. And Chandon Sullivan. Mikey, what do you got?
Chandon Sullivan, huh? That's a good one. Again, we need bodies at corner, right? Is he a free agent this year? I don't remember. Oh,
He
he
signed a
is.
1-year deal, yeah.
Oh, he did sign a 1-year deal. Okay. So I would probably think the Vikings give him a floater deal, like say, hey, probably same deal, like 1.5 million, 1.75 million, or something like that. Say, come take a chance again, see what you can do under Flores. I would probably put this one as 50-50, though. I think we could go either way. Again, I probably would say we just need bodies. We'll probably keep them if we can.
Okay, Voldy. Well, there you have it. There you have it. So, last one, and this one's kind of more of a fan favorite. Duke Shelley. Duke Shelley definitely played. I feel like he earned his spot at the opposite Pat Pete. Mikey, stay or go?
He's staying. He earned that spot. Like he has been multiple times last year. He was taken out. Tried to give Dancer Andrew Booth the shot. Andrew Booth got hurt unfortunately, and then also had some suspect plays. And Dancer and Sullivan both didn't play extremely well. But Shelley, every time he played there, every time he stepped up, he got targeted and he made the play. I think he deserves a shot to be in the conversation for that starting corner. I think he stays.
I like it. Voldy, what do you got? All right, there you go. There you have it. That's what we think with our top starters there. So, all right. Well, there's going to be more news coming soon and whatnot, and we'll make sure we get Mikey on and talk more about it. So, Mikey, thanks for coming on, and we'll be talking more Vikings here very, very soon, my friend.
Very soon. It sounds good. Thanks for having me. I always appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch you later, Mikey.
Yep. See you guys.
All right, now, Voldy, we have some things to talk about with ARA. No special segment this week since we had Mikey on, which was fun. Kyrie, of course. And we got Shohei Ohtani, we got Derek Carr, all that fun stuff. But I do have some breaking news. News. So,
Woj bomb.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have traded D'Angelo Russell to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is breaking news from MinneZona Sports Live. It's happening. It was talked about all day, and now it is actually happening. We just want to take a second to talk about the Timberwolves will get Mike Conley in return, which I think is a very good. I'll give it a round of applause. I don't see why not. I think it's a solid pickup. I just, I think the Wolves wanted to sell high, and that's what they did. I really like D'Lo. I just think that at this point in time that, it was time to move on and sell while it was hot. And did we get Pat Bev in the deal? Do we know? Did you get anything with that, Voldy? Dang it!
I just know that we gave up way too much for too little in return on this one.
Well, we got that. So what do you think of the deal, Voldy, before we go
Well, I'm seeing here the Lakers are getting, obviously, D'Lo. They get Malik Beasley, and they get Jared Vanderbilt. So the Timberwolves are literally going to be left with nobody off the bench. They're going to get Mike Conley and picks. It doesn't say to what extent the picks. And meanwhile, out of that three-team trade, Russell Westbrook's going to Utah. Mm-hmm. And even for a first-round pick as well to the Utah Jazz at the same time. Again, Mike Conley, is Mike Conley a guard, a forward? Is he a big guy? When I think Mike Conley or the name itself, I think of a big guy. So I guess I haven't paid enough in the. He used to play for Memphis or somebody.
Yeah, he played for Memphis. So Mike we actually talked about it with Munson, and we were actually fans of it just because Conley is a very good point guard. He's going to give you efficiency and reliability, but I think there's going to be more consistency as opposed to what it was with D'Lo. They needed kind of a bigger. I feel like for the Lakers, they wanted, they missed out on Kyrie. Well, what do? They go out and get D'Lo, and it sucks for Cat because I think Cat really enjoyed having him around, and we wanted D'Lo, and it was about like 3 years ago when we were talking about how it was great that they got D'Lo, and now he's moving on, which it doesn't surprise me. But at the same time, maybe they were going to extend him. Who are you going to get in return? Well, you get Mike Conley. See how it goes. But those are kind of our reaction thoughts so far to this trade. But it's actually happening, and thank you to D'Lo, though. I mean, I gotta give him some applause because he came here and he did a pretty doggone good job. He was very. He complimented well to Cat when they played and things like that. But I just think what you have with Ant right now, it's hard to balance that. I think so. I guess since we're doing A or A, I guess I'd say for now it's got my stamp of approval. But I guess we'll see how it all pans out at the end of the day. So
my stamp.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So let's just get it going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, from one guy that's just been traded to another guy that was traded earlier, Kyrie Irving. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, the Brooklyn Nets did make official and parting ways with Kyrie Irving as they're sending him to Dallas, as the Mavericks are sending Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and an unprotected 2029 first-round pick and second-round picks in 2027 and 2029 to the Nets in exchange for Kyrie Irving and one half of the Morris twins, Markieff Morris, according to sources, as this coming off the heels of the likes of Kyrie talking about that he requested a trade from the Nets as well. Last year and a half, 2 seasons has been, let's just say, rocky to say the least when it comes to Kyrie in Brooklyn with the Nets as well. This coming off his time with the Celtics, which was rockier to say the least. And then just, obviously his whole career has been a lot of highs and some low lows as well for him. But now this just brings up another opportunity for Kyrie for hopefully a fresh start or continuing his dastardly ways of becoming a locker room cancer. So is it absurd or approved? Is this a fresh start or more locker room cancer for Kyrie Irving heading to Dallas?
It's more of a locker room cancer. And why do I say that? I've said this every time we've brought up Kyrie Irving. You can't trust him. I mean, at this point in time, ever since he left Cleveland, he's been nothing but trouble. And, people are focused what I do off the court and things like that. Yeah, because you put it upon yourself. You put it upon yourself. And you don't. You think that it's like, it's everyone against me. It's like, no, it's literally you against you. You're just doing this to cause a ruckus. So I put that on Kyrie, but I really think if you're Dallas, I mean, Cuban, yeah, I get it. You add another player. Just if you're Dallas, don't piss him off. Just don't do anything in your power to not piss him off. You're going to have to literally kiss his butt, like legitimately, to make sure that he's happy. And if he's not happy, then you have to fix it and do whatever. So now you're in this weird position. How do you kind of have those guys, him and Luka, coexist? That's a big question too. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. With a new place, maybe you can change your perspective on things. It's very possible. But I will say that it is hard to trust that guy, and I hope whatever's going on with him, I hope he figures it out, because it's really affecting the way that he is going about with himself. He's got all the talent in the world, with the COVID thing and everything, but then he lets things like that get in the way, and it's really all on him. I mean, this is, I'm surprised that the Wolves even went out and asked for an offer with him. I wouldn't have made that decision at all. But yeah, I think he's going to be more of a locker room cancer. The Mavs, I hope they know what they're doing, but this is the situation you bring yourself with him, and, I don't like this, and then he'll be like, I don't like the contract, I want to be paid more. Well, how about you actually play a basketball game as opposed to, not being a jackass? I mean, that's what I think. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I think this is just a very interesting, more locker room cancer if he's not playing. If he's playing, he doesn't have enough time to be cancer because of the fact that he's on the court, not tweeting, not putting out anti-Semitic material on his personal social media and causing ruckus that way. But the fact that so many people were proponents of the deal as well, including Mavericks GM Nico Harrison and obviously Dallas coach Jason Kidd, and even Luka Doncic said, heck yeah, let's go get our guy. And to add another piece to that puzzle with, Kyrie and obviously Markieff Morris being thrown into the deal too. If he's on the court, he's playing, he cannot be as bad as he is off the court. That's the way I kind of look at it. You're too busy. You're playing. You're supposed to be trying to win games and obviously trying to win a title. But if he isn't playing, he had that physical on Monday, and no news is good news in that regard. So he might be playing tonight. We'll see. They play at looks like 9:00 tonight. They're out at the Clippers tonight as well. So we'll see how that turns out if he does play tonight too. Is it a fresh start? We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt right now with a new team. So I think it's a fresh start for him in Dallas.
All right. Well, I hope they know what they're doing. That's all I got to say. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, obviously coming up here in, less than a month's time, players are going to be reporting to their national teams for the World Baseball Classic, and one player that is certainly drawing more eyes and has been given the okay is Shohei Ohtani, the face of Major League Baseball, as he is set to participate for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic, obviously as a pitcher and a hitter as well, which did bring up a couple questions with the Angels front office making sure that it was okay as the Angels general manager Perry Manayason did say that, look, he can make his own decisions. We have no problems with him performing as well for Team Japan coming up in the World Baseball Classic. He said he's not worried, as he's been in Arizona for a while now. He's preparing for the season. He's doing everything he needs to do to be ready when he goes and the bell rings. He'll get the proper work in when he needs it. He's the least of my concerns. Obviously, too, with the amount of concerns the Angels do have, obviously trying to make the obviously the playoffs in the first place. Yeah. With Mike Trout. Otherwise, he's probably going to go his whole career without even making the postseason or even winning a postseason game. We'll see how that works out. But with a top-tier player like Shohei Ohtani playing in the World Baseball Classic, and there's a few marquee names participating here in the World Baseball Classic. Right. And should more teams, is it absurd or approved, should more teams take a page out of the Angels front office book and letting their star players participate in the World Baseball Classic?
I don't know if there's a history of it being not very good for, not being, very good for players. But I think with this, I mean, in the past, I don't think I've seen many issues with injuries or anything like that for them playing at the World Baseball Classic. Now, I don't know how you can. I mean, you can prepare, all you want and everything like that. But if you're going to participate and you're playing baseball, what does it hurt?
Right.
With football, I mean that's a different story and whatnot. Hockey, not really, because they got that. Well, they used to, because obviously with the current situation now, they won't. But I just don't see the issue in it, and I think it's fine that he's doing it. Representing his country, they're not worried about if he gets hurt or anything like that. But of his caliber, I do understand that. But I think they can trust him. I think if you're the Angels, I mean, that's your guy right there. And you don't want to say that, well, he could get hurt, we don't want to risk it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, he could walk out of an In-N-Out burger or something and then step in a pothole and break his ankle or something like that. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't think that they should be too concerned, and it doesn't seem like they are. So I'll side with them on this. I think teams should learn from that and say, you know what, they're playing baseball, so let them play. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of the concern initially when it came to star players participating in the World Baseball Classic, initially there were some big marquee names that did play in the first one, which was in 2006. But then the year after that, there were some players that maybe held off a little bit. Just kind of seemed like a little bit of a ragtag, Keystone Cops kind of operation when it came to the legitimacy over it. But the last two World Baseball Classics would be run by Puerto Rico, the Dominican, Team USA in 2017 as well. It's brought a lot more legitimacy to the tournament itself, and a lot of teams that have performed, Team Italy, Team Israel over the years as well, that have really improved their game and being contenders in this whole tournament with some of the the powerhouses like Venezuela and the Dominican, Cuba, the U.S., and Puerto Rico as well. Those teams have seen a lot of success in the tournament. Team Japan as well, should put that out there. But there certainly has been some concern early on, but I think a lot of it has boiled down to, look, it comes down to the players' concern as well. It's like, okay, if you participate, we have no problem with that. It's up to you. So now you're seeing guys like Mike Trout saying, like, okay, I want to represent my country and play in this tournament. That's going to take it over the top now when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, and seeing a guy like Shohei, who will probably hit more than he actually pitches, because this is only going to be a benefit for the teams that their players are coming back. Get a couple of weeks a head start on spring training. They're going to be into the flow of it, because once time the regular season comes rolling through, they're going to be a couple weeks ahead of any of their teammates, most likely, instead of playing 3 or 4 innings of a spring training game at the most. Maybe get 1, if not 2 at bats before getting into the regular season. Some guys may get off to a slow start, may take them a couple of series before they're fully acclimated. That'll bypass all this, and I think it's definitely something other teams should take a look into, especially with bringing more of those star players on the international stage too, for a sport that needs as much help as reaching that international level, with obviously the concern with Major League Baseball too. I think it's something, it's got my stamp of approval.
Yep. I kind of miss that, because I know that a lot of MLB players would play and whatnot and have a good time with it, so why not? Next one, Voldy.
Well, going back to the NFL, and obviously someone that's going to be seeing a little bit of courtship this offseason, the Las Vegas Raiders are letting their quarterback, Derek Carr, get and granted him permission to speak with teams that have already agreed to the compensation of Las Vegas, looking for a potential trade of the quarterback, as there are a few teams out there that are in need of a starting quarterback, or saying that they need a starting quarterback. And this all comes off the performance that Derek Carr had at the Pro Bowl games this past week too. And it's a similar process that Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans, had this past offseason, with minus the tabloid off the field concerns with Deshaun Watson. Derek Carr is a choir boy compared to what all that ended up being. But Carr did also say this past week that he has no intention of extending the February 15th trigger date on his contract, by which the $40 million guaranteed is supposed to kick in for the Vegas Raiders to pay him as well. So whether a trade happens before that or not, we will have to see, as the 31-year-old quarterback has been playing with the Vegas Raiders his whole career, obviously in Oakland as well. But again, had a couple of rough seasons the last couple of years too. It hasn't been for a lack of effort, considering what the Raiders have gone through with changing cities. But is it absurd or approved that the Raiders are allowing Derek Carr to talk with other teams here this offseason?
It's got my stamp of approval. I think they've made their thoughts known about what they want to do, and they don't think Carr can lead them anymore. And
Right.
I think for this to have him talk with other franchises, he already talked to the Aints, so I think that's a pretty good landing spot for him, just because he does have some weapons there. Olave, I think Michael Thomas is coming back. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I mean, I just think that with the Raiders, whatever it was with McDaniels, and I feel like it is a little bit McDaniels here, but when you have all the hype coming in, you get Crosby, then you get Chandler Jones and whatnot, and like you build that defense to kind of combat with teams like the Chiefs and the Chargers and everything like that. But to just lay an egg, you get Devontae, for goodness sake, and just to lay an egg this year and lose all those close games, and lose to bad teams too, for one, just kind of shows what kind of culture's there right now. And I don't think it's all on Derek Carr. But you definitely will take some blame. But I guess we'll see how good he is with the new team. I don't have a problem with him talking with other NFL franchises, just because it's pretty apparent. He doesn't want to be there. They don't want him there. So makes sense. So yeah, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's got my stamp of approval as well. I think Derek Carr's still got plenty to prove. If he can go to a team like New Orleans that's got some offensive firepower to go along with it, and he can get the ball out and just get some protection to allow him to be able to work and not take as many brutal hits as he's taken the last few years, this guy could have a revitalized career, and it's only going to benefit him in the grand scheme of everything. The Raiders are going to probably continue to be the Raiders and find ways to screw up anything, and especially with a franchise quarterback like Derek Carr, I think it's only going to be a great benefit for him. So I think if the right feelers are out there and he can get his money, and obviously a team that wants to bring him in, I think it's certainly got my stamp of approval.
So I guess the Ants, and then I'm just trying. Oh, the Colts, I think they were brought up too. So I could see both fits. I think there's definitely teams that are interested and want to have them on the squad. So we'll see. All right, next one, Volde.
Well, it's an interesting story because of the fact that talking about professional golf, and one of the new kids on the block, that being the Live Golf Tour, was boasting like bigger payouts and more fun, less rules when it came to this past season. The Live Golf League is actually purporting that their attorneys are saying like, yeah, we didn't get much for return on our investment, as the attorneys have made the admission as a motion filed with the U.S. District Court for Northern California on Monday that Live Golf asked the U.S. District Court to deny the PGA Tour's motion to leave to admit the public investment fund, as the plaintiffs did say that it alleges that the Live Golf Tour interfered with its contract with players with the PGA Tour. Basically, it boils down to the fact of saying like there was virtually zero revenue from the 2022 season from the Live Golf Tour, of course, with all the number of events that they had, and obviously boasting bigger payouts and bringing in some of these top guys. It's one of those, you put a lot more money into it on the upfront and hope that the return is going to make some money back in the next couple of years too. But looking at obviously the if you want to call it the head-to-head right now with the PGA and the Live Golf Tour, is it absurd or approved? The lack of return on the Live Golf investment will maybe deter some other golfers maybe from returning or making the jump to the Live Tour from the PGA.
I really do think so. I think the Live thing, the newness is kind of worn off. And I don't really give a crap either way. If it goes down, if it stays. The guys were like, oh, look at how much money I'm getting. This is how much I could get if I go to the Live. And it's proven that this is just a sham. I just feel like the whole Live experience is just a sham. So if I'm a golfer and you see all this coming out, I mean, there's some sketchy stuff going on here. Hopefully the guys still get paid their money and everything, but I think Live's going to be dying here soon. And, it's like, well, we're better than the PGA. It's more fun. We got X, Y, and Z. It's like you're not impressing anybody. It's like, the guys, big names have probably left to play with you, but that's because it's all the money. I mean, let's be honest. So, DeChambeau, Mickelson, Dustin Johnson. I mean, all those guys. So, I think it's absurd, and Live with no revenue just kind of shows, this isn't gonna last. So, I think the Live's gonna be dead in probably a year, maybe even sooner than that. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, when you look at the numbers as well, $784 million going into the first season, which included employee salaries, build-outs at tournaments, and production costs for broadcasting Live events on social media. About $700 million of that was just for 3 golfers itself.
Jeez.
So not being very smart with the money. Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson, DeChambeau, went for about $700 million of that $784 million in its total. But broadcasting rights going to be coming up here for the Live Golf Tour this season. I can't remember which network or whatever platform is streaming platforms got the Live Golf rights, but they're looking at that here this season. But they're doing the thing where it's like we throw enough money at the wall, some of it's bound to stick, and people love money. But is it really worth all the trouble? It really comes down to, okay, you go to the Live Golf Tour, you get your money up front, but you're going to be playing less, which is probably nice for some of those golfers that have been on the tour, over the last 10, 15 years, just been playing nonstop. But what security is going to be around if and when, stuff hits the fan there?
Yeah.
Or you could say the PGA Tour, where you're getting paid less, you're playing every weekend for, 6 months out of the year or something, maybe even longer too. That's even if you're on the regular tour as well. Corn Ferry Tour, you're up and down all crazy with that as well, playing in everywhere and anywhere in between, paying for your own costs, the range fees, and obviously getting you prepared. And if you have sponsorship, if you don't, good luck with that too. As for timeline-wise, I think it'll definitely deter a few golfers. I think the ones that are stuck around right now and participating, obviously they're going to hang on as long as they can to make sure they get their money, make sure the check's clear. But in the grand scheme, in the long run, I think the Live Golf Tour may fade out before too long.
And the PGA, I mean, I think it was Tiger or McIlroy or whoever. They just said they're like, they offered Tiger to do this and play, and it's like, you're not going to beat the PGA. People are laughing at you. Now, the PGA is not perfect. Don't get me wrong. They're not perfect whatsoever. But, this is how not to compete with the PGA. So, I think Live's going to be dying here very, very soon. All right, last one. Voldy.
Well, this one is combining the world of sports and, unfortunately, politics, ruining our sports at the time, as well as, of course, the 2024 Olympic Games being held in Paris for the summer as well. And Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo says that there should be no Russian delegation allowed to participate in the Paris Olympics coming up next summer if Moscow continues its war against the Ukraine. That's something that's been echoed over the last few weeks, too. But previously, Hidalgo said that Russian competitors could take part under a neutral flag. but the backpedaled Tuesday in an interview with the French media regarding the fact that, quote, as long as there is war, the Russian aggression on Ukraine, that athletes should not be able to participate, whether Russian or in the national under a neutral flag. This brings up the previous time that I think the Winter Games in North Korea in Pyongyang, that there was the Olympic athletes from Russia, the OAR, where they competed under as a neutral delegation for those Russian athletes that were able to participate, but not under the Russian sanctioned colors, and for the delegation too. But overall, obviously, that the athletes aren't the ones fighting the war. They're the ones that have been training their whole lives to get to this moment, and based off the actions of their fellow countrymen, but at the same time, maybe they're the ones that don't have any skin in the game in that one. They just want to be able to compete at the highest level for said sports in the Summer Olympics too. But is it absurd or approved? Should Russian athletes be able to compete in the 2024 Paris Olympics as a neutral delegation?
I think that's the most reasonable thing to do at this point. Obviously, they're not the ones that started the war in Ukraine or anything like that.
Right.
The guy that did that is obviously, there's a lot of good people in Russia. But it's not the athlete's fault. And I think there's a way you can do that. And I think the neutral flag thing would work. But, at the same time, it's such a tough situation that, what do you do, And I think if the war is still going on, that is going to solidify that, hey, maybe they won't even have it, which I think some people may have a problem with, just because of the athletes that aren't involved with any of this whatsoever. But also, let's not forget too that if the war is over, then maybe they think, okay, maybe we can make this work. So I think if they go under a neutral flag and everything, it would get my stamp of approval, just because it's one of those things where the athletes aren't getting punished or anything like that. It's just what their country is doing right now, especially with bombs. Literally bombs raining down in Ukraine as we speak, and it's terrible. But I think you got to let some of these athletes from Russia play under a different flag, neutral flag. I don't really got a problem with it. We'll see what happens. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this something that should be allowed. Obviously, the previous time it was in a similar state of delegation with the Olympic athletes from Russia in the North Korean Winter Olympics. So they were cool with it because, North Korea and Russia, they're kind of buddy in that regard with their two dictators, if you will. Now, this being in a democracy in Paris, things are a little bit different, a lot more scrutinized. But, we bring up the fact, too, obviously, these athletes aren't the ones that are fighting on the front lines, whether it be for Russia and obviously for those in Ukraine that are still continuing to defend their home country, too. Nothing but prayers for their safety and the return of their home as well. I don't see why this is an issue. Yes, I understand the political ramifications that go along with it, but literally, these are people that have been training their whole lives to perform once every 4 years, and some of them, this may be their last shot. Some of them, this might be their only shot. This may be their first shot, but again, something that happens once every 4 years for these athletes. They need as much as they can to get into this, because maybe they were just on the edge of competition the last go around the previous Summer Olympics, or maybe, this is their last hurrah. They're putting everything into this. This is an opportunity for them to shine on the biggest stage that it is internationally. You would like to see this happen not only for the sake of, for their sake as well, but for the sake of humanity, and show that they can be the bigger person in participating, allowing these athletes to participate, to show them, hey, look, we're letting your national athletes compete here while you're the ones that are screwing up on the other end and trying to invade a country that has nothing to do with you in the first place. I think it's got my stamp of approval. I think the athletes should be able to compete under a neutral delegation.
Yep, I agree. Stamp of approval all around on that one. And that'll do it for Air A this week. Great job. As always, Voldy. Shield shoutouts. We got some nice Shield shoutouts this week. And, then we'll have some more stuff for you because we're doing something Sunday. So we'll be, there'll be more on that in a second. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to give a big Shield shout-out to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They announced earlier this week that August 11th, they will be immortalizing and retiring the number 34 in honor of Fernando Valenzuela, the former Dodgers pitcher, Fernando Mania, as it was in the 80s, that ran wild all through Los Angeles, and especially with the Mexican native that and his legendary screwball that made its way into the national syndicate with his time with the Dodgers, and of course in his long career as well as most recently served as the one of the analysts on the Dodgers Spanish announced team as well. But Fernando Valenzuela will get his number retired in Dodger blue coming up here later this summer. And of course, earlier this week, it was announced that A.J. Green, wide receiver, announced his retirement from the National Football League. All the numbers that he put up early in his career with Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals, tried to revitalize his career in Arizona for a couple of seasons, hampered by some injuries in the backstretch as well, but luckily enough, he was being able to put up a couple of things in the process as well. So we wish him best of luck in his post NFL career as well. So that's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Green, I mean, I remember I drafted him his rookie season and he was fantastic. I think did he have over 1,000 that year or something like that? But,
something like that. All I remember is that Hail Mary catch that he had, that he tipped the ball up over through like three defenders and caught it.
Yep. Yeah, A.J. Green, I really liked him, and you know, he still was productive in Arizona, not to the extent that you would think as much anymore, but I've always been a fan of A.J. Green. I really like the way that he carried himself, and you know, congrats on a great career. So
yeah,
I really like A.J. Green. Great job with Shield shoutouts as always, Voldy.
Thanks, sir.
And Voldy, before we end things off, Super Bowl Sunday. We're doing our Super Bowl special on Sunday at 2 p.m. Yes. So make sure you guys tune in. We'll have some prop bets. We'll have some other stuff for you and whatnot. So we'll have a lot of fun with the Super Bowl. We'll make our picks, and then we'll get you all ready for Super Bowl Sunday. 2 o'clock to 3, and so you guys hit us up in the chats, all that, and we'll have some fun stuff, maybe even surprises. Who knows? We'll see. So, with that being said, we've got merch, people. We've got some awesome merch. We've got shirts. They're $20, $5 shipping. They're fantastic. I mean, 5 out of 5 stars. Can't lie. They're great. Voldy's got the hat on tonight. Those are 5 stars as well. $20, $5 shipping, same price. And we have stickers. Stickers.
Yes,
$2
sir.
for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. I found some spare ones that I thought I lost. So I do have some. So we're in good shape there. So we have that going on for us. And then, so thank you to National Fleet Graphic. Thank you to Crown Rental Tyler Knutson. We're in talks with him right now to get maybe some more, so we'll see. And check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check out his stuff. And then make sure you check out the Victorious POD with Jack Vickers. He's got a lot of cool stuff going on right now with fantasy, but they're in the down season. But hey, there's still a Super Bowl going on, so if you got some playoff stuff, make sure you fill it out. So that's going to do it for episode 138, which is crazy.
Nice.
I mean, our Super Bowl specials, should they count as
I've been
episodes?
including them. You know, okay. let me look at my tally list here. I think I've kind of separated them out a little bit with the Super Bowl show. Nope, that's the wrong list I was looking at.
Okay.
All right, come on, where are you?
I was gonna say I feel like I have, or no, I don't know if I have though. That's the thing.
Well, let's see here. I don't think so. No, we have
Okay.
not. Of the 2 Super Bowl shows that we've done, we have not included.
We'll just make it still exclusive. I mean, technically they are, but at the same time they're more special. So we do enjoy it. But be ready for Sunday, 2 p.m. We'll have make sure you guys tune in. We'll have some fun. I'm looking forward to it. So that'll do it for episode 138. And with that being said, we'll have more fun stuff on Sunday. So hopefully we see you guys on Sunday. And remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.